Mr. Flores.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Chairman. Chairman Bernanke, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate your service to the country and to the Federal Reserve. My first question starts with two principles. The first principle is there's a natural debt level for any organization, be it a country, a company, a family, whatever, that cannot be exceeded without substantial turmoil. And I think you've talked about that in the past, about the turmoil in our country if we go beyond, continue to live beyond our means. The second principle is that interest rates are made up of two components. The first component is expected inflation. The second component is a risk premium, which the investors in that instrument want to receive for the perceived risk of the instrument. Treasury rates have gone up quite a bit in the last few months. Your testimony today says that expected inflation is going to be low, so that implies a substantial increase in risk premium, which further implies that we are getting close to a natural debt limit. So my question for you is, what is the natural debt limit of the United States government? And you can answer it in one of a couple of forms, either an absolute number, which would mean you ought to be in Las Vegas gambling, or as a percentage of GDP. So I'd like some help with that, please.
Well, first on interest rates is a third component also, which is the expectation of future short rates tied to growth. So one important reason that rates have gone up so much, and the stock market has also gone up so much, is that markets are becoming more optimistic about growth in the U.S. economy. So that's a good thing. Now, there may be part of the increase, I don't know how much, maybe a little bit, that is related to concerns about government fiscal policy, which is the other part of your question. There's no magic number for what ratio of debt to GDP is the limit. If we look around the world, we see that countries in the 60-70 range, which is where we are now, are generally pretty comfortable. If you look at Greece, which is 120, or Japan, which just got downgraded because it's at 200, you know, numbers above 100 then are certainly very concerning. Of course, you always want to leave some space for, you know, a recession or a war or some other kind of emergency. So I hope that we can stabilize the debt to GDP ratio somewhere not too much higher than we are now would be the ideal thing. But I don't think there's a magic number. But the higher it gets, the more of your annual appropriations are going to pay the interest on the debt. And that's, in a way, a drain on what the government could otherwise be doing.
Thank you. Question number two is, you've said today that we are on an unsustainable path, but in testimony or in interviews you gave back in June of last year, you indicated that you felt like it was inappropriate to reduce spending or to increase taxes at that point in time, but still you want a deficit. You said we need to reduce the deficit. So you put us, let me rephrase that. If you're in our seat, there aren't many tools left. So which direction do you go first? Do you reduce spending? Do you raise taxes? What's the recommended approach?
Well, the spending versus taxes, or the composition of spending and taxes, is a congressional prerogative, congressional responsibility. But what I guess the right way to do this, which on the one hand doesn't put too much pressure on the recovery, which is still ongoing, but at the same time makes credible progress towards a balanced budget and a sustainable fiscal trajectory, is to talk about longer-term windows and look at the 10-year window, for example, and take actions which are credible, that will cut spending perhaps in the near term, but will cut spending more as you go forward in time, or raise taxes if that's the decision that Congress makes. So this is a long-term problem. You know, the numbers that we're looking at go out to 2035, 2050. That's when the problem really gets basically just unbearable. So anything that can be done now to change that path, change that trajectory going forward over the next decade or 2 decades, those are the kinds of things that will be effective and will have good impact on the current economy, on current interest rates, as well as restore confidence in our fiscal policy.
Thank you.